The galaxy had been at peace for 12,000 years. The galactic concordat ruled over 7 spiral arms of stars, and the elder races believed they understood everything about the universe. They had mapped every world worth mapping. They had counted every species worth counting. They had written laws that governed all of civilized space. They were the most powerful of the elder races. Their bodies were made of living crystal, and they could live for thousands of years. They built cities that floated in the clouds of gas giants and ships that sailed between stars like leaves on water. The chorus of were different. They were a hive mind, billions of creatures sharing one vast consciousness that spread across dozens of worlds. When the chorus spoke, it spoke with the wisdom of countless minds working together. They were the oldest of all. They moved slowly, thought slowly, but they never forgot anything. Their libraries contained knowledge from before the other races had learned to make fire. These 3 races and dozens of others had built something wonderful together. The Concordat was not perfect, but it worked. Ships traveled freely between systems. Trade made everyone richer. Wars were rare and small. The elder races looked at what they had made and felt proud. But in the deepest archives of the Concordat, there was one file that no one could agree about. It was old, older than the Concordat itself. It spoke of a species called humans. The records were broken and incomplete. They described a young race from an average yellow star on the far edge of the galaxy. These humans had come from a blue and green world called Earth, the 3rd planet from their sun. They had been curious, ambitious, and fast. While other species took millions of years to reach the stars, humans had done it in mere thousands. And then they had vanished. The Great Silence had happened 60,000 years ago. It had been the worst disaster in galactic history. Wars had broken out across every spiral arm. Weapons had been used that could kill entire stars. Dozens of species had died, including the mysterious progenitors who had once guided younger races toward civilization. When the fires finally went out, the survivors had built the Concordat to make sure such horror would never happen again. No one knew what had happened to the humans. Some scholars said they had destroyed themselves, as young species sometimes did. Others said they had been killed in the Great Silence along with so many others. A few claimed that humans had never existed at all, that the records were just errors or inventions. Ambassador Oran had studied the human file once long ago when he was young and interested in ancient mysteries. He had found it fascinating but ultimately pointless. What did it matter if humans had been real? They were gone now, like so many others. The galaxy had moved on. He thought about them again when the survey ship returned from the galactic rim. The rim was the edge of civilized space, where stars grew thin and the darkness between galaxies began. Few people went there. There was nothing to find except empty worlds and dead systems. But the Concordat sent survey ships anyway, because the elder races liked to be thorough. The survey ship Bright Horizon had been gone for 3 years. When it came back, its captain requested an immediate meeting with the Concordat Council. She would not say why. She would only say that it was urgent. Ambassador Oran was one of 12 beings who sat in the great chamber when Captain gave her report. The room was circular, made of white stone that glowed softly. Each council member floated on a platform of light, and in the center of the room, a holographic display could show anything the speaker wished to present. Captain was, which meant she did not rush. But even for her species, she seemed unusually careful about choosing her words. "We found something," she said. Her voice was like grinding stones. "Something that should not exist." The holographic display came to life. It showed a dead world, brown and gray, with no atmosphere and no water. Its surface was covered with craters and scars that spoke of ancient violence. But rising from the center of the largest crater was something that made every council member lean forward. It was a monument, a tower of black stone that reached 3 kilometers into the empty sky. Its surface was covered with symbols that glowed faintly even after all this time. At its base sat machines of unknown design, still and silent but obviously intact. "We compared the symbols to our archives," Captain said. "They match only one entry." She did not need to say which one. Ambassador Oran felt his crystalline body grow cold. "We attempted to investigate the structure," the captain continued. "We sent a team of 12 researchers to the surface. They were the best in their fields. They approached carefully with all proper safety measures in place." The holographic display changed. It showed camera footage from one of the researchers' suits. The monument filled the screen, massive and impossibly black, as if it was made from darkness. The symbols on its surface seemed to move slightly, though that might have been a trick of the light. The team walked closer. One of them reached out to touch the surface. And then the monument woke up. It started as a low hum, so deep that it was more felt than heard. The symbols on the tower began to glow brighter. The machines at the base started to move, unfolding themselves like metal flowers opening to the sun. The researchers tried to run, but something grabbed them, not physically. Something grabbed their minds. The last image from the cameras showed the lead researcher standing perfectly still, her eyes wide and empty, her mouth moving to form words she did not understand. "We remember," she said. The voice that came from her throat was not her own. It was deeper, older, and somehow patient. "We remember everything." Then the feed went dead. "We lost contact with the surface team immediately," Captain said. "We waited in orbit for 6 days. We tried every method of communication we knew. Nothing worked. On the 7th day, we detected a massive energy signature building inside the monument. We chose to withdraw." "You fled," said a council member from the chorus of. The hive mind did not approve of retreat. "We survived," the captain corrected, "which is more than I can say for the 2 ships we left behind to monitor the situation. They stopped responding within hours of our departure. When we sent a probe back to check on them, they were gone. Not destroyed. Gone, as if they had never existed." The council chamber was silent. Ambassador Oran looked at his fellow members and saw fear on faces that had forgotten how to be afraid. "What do you believe we are dealing with?" asked the eldest of her voice crackling with age. Captain took a long time to answer. When she did, her words were slow and heavy. "I believe," she said, "that the humans did not die in the Great Silence. I believe they have been waiting, and I believe that we have just told them we are here." The months that followed were filled with denial. The council did not want to believe what Captain had reported. They sent more ships to investigate. None of them came back. They analyzed the footage again and again, looking for other explanations. They found none. Meanwhile, strange things began to happen across the galaxy. 3 colony worlds on the rim went silent within a single week. When rescue ships arrived, they found the colonies intact but completely empty. Every person was gone. There were no signs of violence, no indications of disease. Food sat rotting on tables. Ships sat waiting in hangars, but the people had vanished as if they had never existed at all. Then the signals started. The chorus of detected them first, because the hive mind was always listening. Mathematical sequences of incredible complexity, broadcasting from coordinates where no stars existed. The sequences repeated in patterns that seemed almost like language. It took the chorus 3 months to decode the first transmission. When they finally understood what they were looking at, they shared their discovery with the council in a closed session. Ambassador Oran was there when the truth was revealed. He watched the holographic display fill with star charts, thousands of them, every major concordat system, every fleet position, every populated world, all mapped with perfect accuracy, all labeled with notes and observations. The notes were written in human language. Someone had been watching the concordat for a very long time. Someone had been recording everything, learning everything, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. "How long?" asked the elder. Her voice shook in a way Oran had never heard before. The chorus of answered with many voices speaking as one. The oldest observations in these files date back approximately 47,000 years. The most recent are from 6 standard days ago. Oran felt something cold settle into his core. The humans had not just survived the Great Silence. They had spent the since then watching, studying, and preparing. While the Concordat had been building its civilization, humanity had been building something else. And now, after 60,000 years of patience, they had decided to stop hiding. The question that no one wanted to ask hung in the air like poison. It was not whether the humans were coming. It was what they wanted when they arrived. The first human ships appeared without warning on a morning that would become famous across the galaxy. One moment, the space above Prime was empty except for the usual traffic of cargo vessels and passenger ships. The next moment, a fleet hung in the darkness like it had always been there. Ambassador Oran was in his office when the alert started screaming. He rushed to the viewing window and looked up at the sky, and what he saw made his ancient heart stop beating for 3 full seconds. The ships were enormous. The smallest of them was larger than any Concordat vessel ever built. The largest measured nearly 50 kilometers from bow to stern, a mountain of metal and power that blocked out the stars behind it. Their hulls were dark gray, covered with scars and marks that spoke of incredible age. These were not new ships. These were ships that had traveled between galaxies, that had witnessed the birth and death of stars, that had been old when the Concordat was young. There were hundreds of them. They hung in perfect formation, close enough to Prime that they could be seen with the naked eye, but far enough away that they could not be considered an immediate threat. It was a careful distance, chosen by beings who understood exactly what message they wanted to send. We are here, we are powerful, we are not attacking yet, but we could. Every communication system on the planet activated at the same time. Every screen, every speaker, every holographic display showed the same image, a human face. She was female, with dark hair streaked with gray and skin the color of warm earth. Her eyes were brown and steady, and they looked out from the screen as if she could see every person watching her. She wore a uniform of black and silver, simple but elegant, and on her collar was a symbol that matched the writing on the monument from the Rim world. "People of the Galactic Concordat," she said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried an authority that silenced every other sound on the planet. "My name is Wei. I am an admiral in the fleet of the Terran Continuity, and I speak on behalf of humanity." Oran noticed that she said humanity as if it was the most natural word in the universe, as if 60,000 years of absence meant nothing at all. "I know that our presence here is unexpected," Admiral continued. "I know that many of you believed our species was dead or that we had never existed at all. I want to assure you that we mean no immediate harm. We have not come to conquer or destroy. We have come to talk." She paused, and something shifted in her expression. It was not threatening, exactly. It was more like the look of a parent who knows they have to have a difficult conversation with a child. "But I must be honest with you," she said. "We have spent 60,000 years preparing for this moment. We have watched your civilization grow. We have studied your strengths and your weaknesses. We know things about you that you do not know about yourselves. And we have decided that the time has come for humanity to return to its rightful place among the stars." The screens across Prime showed her face in perfect clarity, every line and every shadow. "We request a meeting with your council within the next 48 hours. We have much to discuss, and I believe it would be better for everyone if those discussions happened peacefully." Admiral smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not entirely warm either. It was the smile of someone who had all the cards and knew it. "We await your response." The transmission ended. The screens went dark. And across the planet, across the entire Concordat, millions of beings stood in stunned silence and wondered what would happen next. The council chamber had never been so crowded. Every member was present, along with their advisors, their military commanders, and their emergency response teams. The air hummed with tension, and the soft glow of the white stone walls seemed cold rather than comforting. Ambassador Oran took his place on his floating platform and looked around at his colleagues. He saw fear on most faces, anger on a few, but mostly he saw confusion. None of them knew how to react to what had just happened. The elder races had spent 12,000 years believing they were the most powerful beings in the galaxy. That belief had just been shattered in a matter of minutes. "We must attack," said the representative of the Martial Collective, a species known for their warrior traditions. "We cannot show weakness. If we let these humans dictate terms to us, we invite disaster." "Attack with what?" asked the chorus of in its many-voiced speech. "Our combined fleets could not match what we have seen in orbit, and this is almost certainly not their full strength. If they have been building for 60,000 years, they could have forces we cannot imagine." "Then we negotiate," said an elder. "We find out what they want. Perhaps we can satisfy them without conflict." "And if what they want is everything?" The Martial Collective representative was not calmed. "What if they want our worlds, our resources, our subjugation?" "Then we learn that," Oran said. He was surprised to hear his own voice. "Better to know our enemy than to fight blind." The debate continued for hours. Messages flew back and forth between systems. Military commanders ran simulations and found nothing but defeat. Diplomats searched the ancient archives for any information that might help them understand the humans. In the end, there was no real choice. The council agreed to meet with Admiral. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station built specifically for diplomatic gatherings. Ambassador Oran was chosen as the primary negotiator, along with representatives from the chorus of and the. They arrived early and waited in a room of polished metal, trying to project calm they did not feel. Admiral came with only 2 guards. She was shorter than Oran had expected, small and fragile-looking compared to the massive bodies. But there was nothing fragile about the way she carried herself. She moved like someone who had spent a lifetime commanding others and had forgotten how to be uncertain. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," she said as she sat down. Her voice was the same as it had been in the broadcast, calm, measured, and utterly confident. "I know this is a difficult situation for you. You have invaded our space with a fleet of warships," the chorus of said. "Many would consider that an act of war." "We have entered space that was ours before your Concordat existed," replied smoothly. "But I understand your perspective. That is why we are here talking instead of fighting." She placed her hands flat on the table, a gesture of openness. "Let me explain what humanity wants. 60,000 years ago, we were a young species full of ambition and arrogance. We expanded too fast. We made enemies too easily. When the Great Silence came, we were not ready for it. We lost billions of our people. We lost almost everything." Her voice remained steady, but Oran thought he saw something flicker in her eyes. An old pain never quite healed. "We survived by retreating to the edges of the galaxy, to places no one else wanted, and we decided that we would never be caught unprepared again. For 60,000 years, we have built our strength in secret. We have watched the rest of the galaxy, learned from its mistakes, and prepared for the day we would return." "And now you return as conquerors," the elder said. "No," shook her head. "We return as claimants. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it again. We want our place at the table, our voice in the decisions that affect all species. We want what was taken from us returned." "What was taken from you?" Oran asked. "Our status, our recognition, our right to exist as equals among the stars." The Admiral leaned forward slightly. "We are not asking for much, Ambassador. We want membership in your Concordat with full rights and representation. We want the human systems to be recognized as sovereign territory. We want access to trade routes and diplomatic channels. We want to be treated as what we are, a spacefaring civilization with as much right to the stars as any other. It seemed reasonable. It seemed almost too reasonable. Oran felt his suspicion growing. And if we refuse? Admiral's expression did not change, but something in the air seemed to shift. Then we will take what we need, she said. We have the power to do so. Our technology is 60,000 years more advanced than yours. Our population numbers in the hundreds of billions. Our fleet stretches across 3 satellite galaxies. We could conquer your entire Concordat in a matter of months. She let those words hang in the air for a moment. But we do not want that, she continued. Conquest is expensive. It breeds resentment. It creates enemies that take generations to pacify. We learned those lessons long ago. We would much prefer to join your civilization peacefully as partners rather than masters. You offer us peace, the chorus have said, but only the peace of submission. I offer you peace on terms that benefit everyone, corrected. The Concordat gains access to human technology, human knowledge, human allies. You gain protection from threats you do not even know exist yet. You gain a partner who has spent 60,000 years learning from the mistakes of the past. She spread her hands. Is that not a fair exchange? The negotiations lasted much longer than 48 hours. They lasted 7 years. During that time, the galaxy changed in ways no one could have predicted. Word of the human return spread to every system, every world, every species. Some reacted with fear. Some reacted with anger. But many, especially among the younger races who had long chafed under Concordat rules, reacted with hope. The humans, they said, were different. The humans understood what it was like to be small and vulnerable. The humans had survived the worst disaster in galactic history and come back stronger. Maybe the humans would change things for the better. And slowly, one by one, the younger races began to reach out to the Terran continuity. They asked questions. They sought alliances. They petitioned to join the human systems. Ambassador Oran watched it happen with a mixture of admiration and unease. He had spent his long life believing that the Concordat was the natural order of things, that the elder races were meant to guide the younger ones toward enlightenment. But the humans were offering something different. They were offering partnership instead of guidance, equality instead of hierarchy. It was a dangerous idea. It was also a powerful one. The final treaty was signed on the same space station where the first meeting had taken place. It was called the New Compact, and it dissolved the old Concordat entirely. In its place rose the Galactic Commonwealth, a new organization that included humans as full and equal members. The elder races kept much of their influence, but they had to share it now. They had to listen to voices they had ignored for thousands of years. Admiral became Chancellor, the first human to hold the highest office in galactic civilization. She was old by then, her hair completely white and her face lined with years of work and worry. But her eyes were still sharp, and her voice still carried that same calm authority. Oran was present at the signing ceremony. He had become something of an unlikely ally to the humans over the years, a bridge between old and new. When the ceremony was over and the crowds had dispersed, he found himself alone with Chancellor on an observation deck overlooking the stars. You could have conquered us, he said. It was something he had wanted to ask for years. Your forces were overwhelming. Why negotiate at all? Smiled. It was the same smile he remembered from their first meeting, but warmer now, more genuine. Because empires built on conquest always fall, she said. We learned that lesson the hard way, Ambassador. 60,000 years ago, we were arrogant. We thought we could control everything. The Great Silence taught us humility. She turned to face the viewport, where the lights of 100 different species ships moved in peaceful transit. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it. We want our children to grow up alongside yours, to build something together that neither of us could build alone. Oran considered this, and if we had refused your terms. The Chancellor's smile did not waver, but something ancient and hard flickered behind her eyes. Then we would have done what was necessary to survive. We always do. She placed a hand on his crystalline shoulder, a gesture of friendship that would have been unthinkable 7 years before. But I am glad it did not come to that. Are you not? Oran looked out at the stars that humanity had claimed not through war, but through patience and wisdom and an understanding of what truly mattered. He thought about myths, about monsters in the dark, about what it meant when legends turned out to be real. The humans had been considered a myth, a story from a time before the Concordat, before the Great Silence, before everything the elder races thought they knew about the universe. They had been dismissed, forgotten, erased from the memory of civilization. And yet they had survived, they had watched, they had waited, and when the time was right, they had returned to claim their place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as something more surprising and more powerful, as partners. Yes, Ambassador Oran admitted finally, I suppose I am. Chancellor nodded and turned back to the stars. Her eyes reflected the lights of countless distant suns, and for a moment, Oran could see in her face the echo of 60,000 years of patience and planning and hope. The galaxy has changed, she said softly. It will continue to change. That is the nature of things, but I truly believe that the changes to come will be good ones, not just for humanity, for everyone. She looked at him, and her smile was genuine now, without any hidden edges. We have so much to teach each other, Ambassador, so much to learn. The Great Silence nearly ended everything, but we survived, all of us, and now we have a chance to build something better than anything that came before. Oran thought about the Concordat he had served for so long, with its careful hierarchies and its unspoken assumptions about which species deserved to lead and which deserved to follow. He thought about the Commonwealth that was replacing it, with its messy equality and its uncertain future. It was frightening, it was also exciting. You truly believe that, he asked, after everything your people have been through? I do, Chancellor said. Hope is the one thing the Great Silence could not kill. It survived in humans when everything else was lost. It carried us through 60,000 years of darkness, and now it has brought us home. She gestured at the viewport, at the vast expanse of stars beyond. This is our home, Ambassador. Not just Earth, which we lost so long ago, not just the human systems, all of it. Every star, every world, every species. The galaxy belongs to all of us, and now, finally, we can share it properly. Oran stood beside her in silence, watching the ships pass by, watching the stars burn in their eternal patterns. He thought about the future, about the changes that were coming, about the strange and wonderful things that might happen when humans and then all the other species of the galaxy learned to work together. It would not be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever was. There would be conflicts and disagreements and moments when old hatreds threatened to tear everything apart. But there would also be cooperation and discovery and friendship between beings who had once thought themselves strangers. The humans were no longer a myth. They were real, and they were here, and they were determined to make their mark on the galaxy once again. And as Oran stood on that observation deck, watching the dawn of a new era, he found himself hoping that the mark they made would be a good one. He had a feeling it would be.